The morning should have been ordinary. Sunlight spilled across the rooftop patio of the Azure Crest Hotel, glasses clinked, and the city hummed below. Then my mother, Marlene, lost control. "Useless leech," she shouted, her voice slicing through the chatter. I barely registered the tilt of the porcelain mug before the shock hit. Fresh, boiling coffee cascaded over my head, searing my scalp, sliding down my neck, soaking into my worn charcoal sweatshirt. The pain stole my breath in a single violent pull. What followed hurt worse. Laughter. My brother, Lucas, and my sister, Brielle, were already filming, their phones lifted like weapons. Tiny reds blinked back at me, recording everything. I sat frozen, liquid dripping from my lashes, my skin burning, and understood in that moment that whatever fragile bridge connected me to them hadn't cracked, it had been obliterated. I stood without a word. I didn't wipe my face. I didn't look at Marlene, who was breathing hard, satisfied and furious all at once. I walked to the restroom, my boots striking marble in an even, deliberate rhythm. Inside, I locked the door and leaned over the sink. The mirror showed someone I barely recognized, hair plastered to my head, skin along my hairline already swelling red. Rage clawed at my throat. I wanted to scream, to flip tables, to break something expensive just to hear it shatter. I wanted them to feel even a fraction of what I felt. But my eyes stopped me. They weren't wet. They were distant. Clear. If I exploded, I fed them. If I cried, I rewarded them. Chaos was their oxygen. Marlene's obsession with control, my siblings' hunger for attention, it all lived on reaction. Silence, though, was different. Silence stripped monsters bare and left them alone with themselves. I pressed paper towels gently to my neck, hissing through clenched teeth, keeping my expression flat. I would not give them a single image of me breaking. When I returned to the table, the air was thick and hostile. Lucas still smirked, phone raised. Brielle typed rapidly, already shaping the story in her head. Marlene stood rigid, waiting for me to apologize. I didn't sit. I pulled my wallet from my damp pocket and removed 4 crisp bills, $80. I placed them beside the empty coffee mug, smoothing them carefully. My share of the meal I never touched. Then I turned and walked away. "That's right, run," Lucas called after me. "Go sulk in your junk car." I didn't look back. The quiet I left behind weighed more than any argument ever could. They thought the camera meant power. They didn't realize they'd just documented their own undoing. I drove off in my aging Subaru, the bitter scent of coffee filling the cabin. My hands shook as I started the engine. Not fear, adrenaline. Miles slipped between me and the people who shared my blood, but none of my values. The fight had started over something almost laughably small. Lucas had cornered me before breakfast, asking for $50,000 for his exclusive timepiece venture. He'd called it an investment, a bridge loan. He even suggested I put it on a credit card. He thought I was barely scraping by, coding freelance jobs from a cabin because I couldn't afford the city. He didn't know I'd sold my AI risk assessment startup, Neural Haven, 3 weeks earlier to a major research firm for just over $100 million. He didn't know my assets were hovering far north of that. When I declined, calmly, politely, the mask slipped. "Selfish," he spat. "Mom bankrolls everyone, and you won't help?" That refusal lit the fuse. My family's life was built on appearances. Lucas drove a leased SUV he couldn't keep up with. Brielle branded herself as a wellness mentor, living in a condo funded by our parents' shrinking savings. Marlene wore luxury labels she borrowed and returned. Debt dressed as success. I own my car, my land, my work, and the freedom to say no. That freedom scared them. I headed to urgent care, my scalp throbbing, my thoughts already shifting gears. The part of me that wanted a mother mourned quietly. The part of me that ran companies was already assembling facts. This wasn't personal anymore. It was procedural. Later, alone in my apartment, I treated the burns and studied my reflection. Blistering skin near my ear. Angry red lines along my neck. I didn't hide them. I wanted to remember exactly what refusing $50,000 had cost me. My phone buzzed relentlessly. Not apologies. Notifications. Lucas had posted the video. The caption mocked me as the broke sister ruining brunch. The comments were vicious. Brielle shared it with laughing emojis. I saved everything. Screenshots. Timestamps. Captions. Evidence. Then I made tea and waited. By Monday, the internet had done what it always does, connected dots. A former colleague recognized me. Tech circles picked it up. The contrast spread everywhere. One image of me in professional profiles, another soaked in coffee at a family table. The story flipped. Public outrage replaced mockery. My phone rang. Calls from advisors, journalists, partners. I let it ride. Truth didn't need defending. While they chased attention, I escalated professionally. By Tuesday, Lucas was called into a meeting at his showroom. He didn't know that my investment firm had quietly acquired a controlling interest in the parent company that owned his franchise rights. He learned quickly. His termination was swift. Clean. Final. By Thursday, they showed up at my gate. Angry, desperate, unraveling. I watched through security cameras as Marlene screamed and Lucas demanded restitution. I never opened the gate. Police arrived before I said goodbye. After that, everything went quiet. Sponsors dropped Brielle. No one would hire Lucas. Marlene vanished from her social circles. Consequences settled in where entitlement once lived. 2 weeks later, a lawyer called on behalf of my grandmother. She had rewritten everything in my favor. I declined emotionally, not legally. Enough was already enough. When the call ended, I sat on my porch, the air cool against healing skin, and felt something unfamiliar. Lightness. I deleted the family group chat, whistled for my dog, got in my truck, and drove forward. Nothing behind me worth looking back at.